Brain Candy Podcast,
Woo!
episode 818.
Oh, shout out to my old area code.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
818.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Did you ever have like a cell phone with an 818?
No.
Those are hard to come by.
They really were. I was just 805 and then 949.
Whatever you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 949.
Yeah.
I read that they just added one to California. I forget what it is, but you know, because people keep being born.
Right. I remember when they changed, when it was like Orange County divided between 714 and 949. It was like a big, it was like, which one are you in?
Isn't it funny how it's always like a big deal?
It's like, oh, because there's like the good one and then like the other one.
But is it like always that the old one is the better one?
Yes.
Or is it like where you live?
But I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people like the OG.
Yeah. Same in LA, it's like 818 versus 310. 310 is the coveted.
It's hot stuff.
Hot stuff.
The coveted.
Yes. That's what I got for my
Man.
therapy number. And I'm like, yeah, 310.
Yeah, baller.
Baller.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And welcome to Brain Candy Podcast. 818-310, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
How's it going over there? Moving on up, I
Man,
hear.
moving on up. Things are looking good. I am happy as can be in my new place. There is the chaos of like moving in, and I have decided, I've been forced to get rid of 2/3 of my stuff.
Wait, why were you forced?
Well, because I have a much smaller space and I do not want a storage unit. I've had things divided up between spaces. I do not need the doll collection from when I was a child.
Wait, are you sure?
Suze, I know I almost feel like I should pause and go get some that are right in there to give you a show.
go ahead.
Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Yes.
Because
Give
then I'll
them
be
a
like, do you want
proper-
this? And it's really like,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Okay.
Right, I'll be your storage.
Look who brought her friends.
Who do we have here?
Okay, so we have Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Oh my gosh.
That comes with, I don't know where Goldilocks is. I left her in the box.
What are you going to do with these?
I mean, they're so cool, right?
Yeah.
And it comes with a little baby bear too. Ah, adorable. This
Don't get rid of them.
is Eeyore from when I was a little baby.
Wow.
Look at how old that guy is.
See, you've been hanging out with cranky people your whole life.
Right? Look at this guy. He's like
Oh my
patchwork little
gosh.
bear that somebody probably made like for me or something. Yeah.
Sarah?
It's got like a handwritten name on the bottom, 1987. Somebody made
What are
that.
you doing? Don't get rid of these.
Look at this cool Where the Wild Things Are.
So cute.
How can I get rid of these?
Well, right.
Like,
That's what I want to know.
okay, so what am I supposed to do? Have a storage unit that I pay $400 a month in for the rest of my life to hold on to Goldilocks and the Three fucking bears?
Listen, yeah, you should. Or at least get one of those nets like Link has where you put your little stuffies in there. Just one
Okay, you
little
know
corner.
what? It's not the worst idea.
It's not. You'll be glad because
I have narrowed it down to the good ones, and those are the good ones. Okay. Wow.
those aren't the things that you're keeping in storage that are like the real problem.
Right. It's actually the Halloween and the Christmas stuff. I got to get rid of some of that. There's too much, and I don't even have a big house to put all of it up in or a front yard to do all, I
You
got to
gonna
just
sell them?
I was thinking having a garage sale and
That's
just
so cute.
throwing up the old, like at my friend Ashley's house, like this is where all my stuff is. So I was thinking of
Yeah.
just opening up our garage, setting up some of the tables I have, put everything out there and throw a little like one day only, one day
I bet you
only.
those some brainiacs will be clamoring.
Yeah, maybe if
though.
I do that, there are Denver Brainiacs, so I'll be like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll make a little
on, come
announcement. Yeah, and just
Then you know they go to a good home.
Yep, I do love this. So if you are in need of Halloween or Christmas stuff, then
Well, and you won't be sorry because she has the best decoration.
I do. I do have the best stuff. That is, yep.
Wow.
So-
gosh, you're really changing.
I know. I
So
do.
much change.
So much change. I'm going to get rid of I feel so good about it too. I've already like mentally gone through all of the boxes in storage and all of the stuff I have. And I'm like, nope, don't need that. Don't need that. And there's something really awesome about having everything in storage for 2 years and having not touched it for that long that I'm like, do I even need this?
Yeah.
Clearly not. If I have not
Yeah.
touched any of that in 2 years, some of the things taking up some dog kennels. Don't need that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and when I do, I'll
Okay.
get one, and it's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. It's hard,
Yeah, it is
to
hard
part with
it
things.
is. So, yeah.
but you certainly did love your items, and then
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Whew. That's like therapy.
Do you do you feel like I don't know, do you feel like you're happy with everything about your life right now?
Yeah, I
'Cause you
feel
seem happy.
Yes. Yeah, guess what I did? This cuz I'm like, Sarah, you got to like walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk, you know. And I tell people all the time, if you want to meet new people and if you want to get out there, you got to like sign up for the things that you like to do. And so I joined the Colorado Mountain Club.
Oh my God, there's a club.
It sure is, and I'm its newest member. And on the 6th, I have a class where I go and show them my proficiency in rock climbing skills, so that I can go to the level 2 and learn and go to like their anchoring classes.
Stop.
And
You
I'm
have
going
to
go.
like audition.
Well, because I don't want to start at the beginners thing. There's
Yeah.
a prerequisite for some of the more advanced courses, and in order to take those, I got to
crazy.
show off to the people. And so I made my appointment, paid my dues, gonna go and do that. And then I also signed up. REI has free classes, so I signed up for a exploring or hiking the 14ers of Colorado class that they have at REI. That's like by a company that like teaches like mountaineering and stuff. And I'm like, there's gonna be cool people there. So no other signups yet, but just me. So
well, we have
so
a 100%
far it was
cool
like
people
it's
rate.
like 36 spots available. 36 spots, like, and then I showed up.
No.
Yep, I am the one person signed up. It's not until June, so maybe I have some time, or July or something. So maybe it's just because, you know.
I keep thinking of on The Price is Right. You know that game? I think it's called The Mountain Climber or something, and it's like oh doo doo oh doo doo oh doo, and it like the little guy like climbs up
Yep.
and yodels.
Yep.
I hope they do that in your club.
Probably.
What if that's all it is like yodeling?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, off Wiedersehen hats or whatever.
Well, I made sure to visit their Instagram page before I signed up and took a good look.
How'd it look?
It looks good. It looks like the kind of people I want to hang out with, and they all look really nice and really, you know. And,
I'm sure they are nice.
and there's a part of the club for people between ages of 21 and 40. So I'm going to be part of that group. And
That's great.
they have like game
For
nights
you.
and stuff.
They have
Hello.
game nights.
They
Oh my
they had it on
God.
their internet or on their internet. How old do I sound? On their internet. No, on their Instagram. I don't know. Should I be in the
Wow.
60 and over crowd after that statement? Yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, that's
Oh my God,
not my cup of tea, but that sounds great for
I
you.
just
What?
realized that I will
What?
be how old I am, and that 21 to 40. I was like, oh yeah, that's like you know, I'm definitely. Holy shit.
You're on the edge.
I am on the edge
You're gonna fall
of
right
that
off
age
that
group.
mountain.
Whoa! I just got a little, a little heart palpitation.
Yeah,
Must be my
they don't
age.
Call it over the hill for nothing. This is literal in the mountain club.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's Sarah's life. That's how
God bless.
yeah. So I'm doing the things that I you know, I say do. I'm
She's
like
walking the walk.
walking the walk. I'm going to
Climbing the climb.
Pilates, going hiking.
I bet whenever you're doing all that stuff, you're wearing your Honey Love.
At 100% I am. Those
Yeah.
are the most comfortable pants. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I like that you don't have to wear underwear with them.
I know, me too.
Because the other leggings, they say like, oh, or people are doing that. And I'm like, no. I don't know what kind of
that's
bodies
risky
you have, but
business.
no,
Yeah.
not. They need to be a specific type of gusset for this gal to be parading around without any chonies on. And Honey Love provides that.
Yeah, it's super supportive, and it feels like I don't know how they do it, but it's like reinforced in
Yes.
that area.
Yeah.
So it really is as if you're wearing double.
Reinforced gusset. That, or I think that really is the term.
I have for the suggestion box for Honey Love. I want them to make those in shorts,
Oh,
the
right.
leggings, but in shorts because it gets hot in the summer, and I'm like, I could really go for
100%.
some. Yeah. So Honey Love, if you're listening,
Yeah.
I would love if you did that
And give
because
me,
the
like,
shapewear is awesome.
The option of the 3-inch or the 5-inch inseam.
Right. Yes.
You know, I like
I
a
love
longer
this
inseam.
idea.
Yes.
They should pay us to be consultants. But for now, we're just their partner, and we're happy to be because they have amazing bras, leggings. I gave my friend Heather, I gave her a Honey Love bra because she had asked for one for Christmas, and I thought, well, if Santa's given her one, I should give her one too. So I did. They're so comfortable and flattering. They have amazing athleisure and also other like normal clothes that you can just wear in real life, and it's great. And they have a deal for our listeners. Here's what it is. Honey Love is not just supporting women, it's empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/braincandy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off. honeylove.com/braincandy to find your perfect fit. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Honeys, you deserve this. Free the pain and discomfort. Keep the support with Honey Love. Yeah. Yes. Well, that sounds great. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Good things.
Yeah.
That's all good things. Okay. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Did you watch the Ashley Madison documentary? I think that was on Netflix.
Is it the one about the cheating thing or like the
dating?
Yes, I started it and I must have fallen asleep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Get
tell
back
me.
into it.
Yeah, okay,
It was
good.
really good.
Okay.
Well, because if you're not familiar, Ashley Madison was that dating site that was for married people who wanted to have an affair.
Right.
And it was provocative and scandalous, but also got pretty popular because I guess there's a lot of people who are looking for some side action. And then they got into a real pickle because there was a data breach and all their users' information was exposed. And that's how we learned about that weirdo pervert Josh Duggar.
Oh my God.
Ashley Madison was the least of his issues.
That's right. I forgot how this all intersects in that time. That was so great. Wasn't this pre-pandemic or right at the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
This was like right right before I feel like it got lost in like the pandemic
Yeah, we have
insanity.
bigger fish to fry.
Right.
Now. Do what you want. We're busy. We'll put
Right.
on our masks over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Nuts. That's right.
It was nuts. And so like when I pushed play on this series, I thought that would be the gist. It's just like how it's skeezy and these people are gross and like, what are you doing? And like, let's have fun judging them. But it was really good and really made me think because the examples of the people that used it that then were interviewed for this, it was like a real collection of different types. So you had a couple that met on there that was just like really into like shenanigans, like
freaky shit.
and their partners were fine with it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like deceptive.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of the success story of like, these are people who just, they're happy in their life, but they wanted to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was hurt. And then you had like the more typical where like they should not have been on there. And then their partners found out and then it kind of ruined their life.
Oh.
And then you had somebody who was working in like a Christian setting. He worked for a seminary. He was a professor like training people who want to go into the ministry. And his wife didn't find out initially. His employer did. And then, spoiler, he died by suicide as a result.
Oh my God. Okay.
So you have this whole spectrum of like experiences from the harmless to the hellish.
Very consequent. Right. Oh.
Yeah. And it really put it into a whole different frame of mind for me because I really just thought this was going to be like, look at these losers or whatever. Right. And then it was like, oh shit. Some people are just like made a mistake. They had a weakness or whatever.
Right. In a environment that's already very repressive anyway. So now you're like trying to get your needs met.
I was thinking, I mean, the fact that he died by suicide is hideous, but I think his wife was on there and she was condemning of those like on the internet who would like scour the list to try to find people like this sort of like Schadenfreude or
like somebody's
you...
like looking through the list of the people whose
Yeah.
names were revealed. Yeah, like in an
Yeah, 'cause
effort
they
to
wanted
destroy
to.
and take down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was saying like that's really gross
Yeah.
and it's not nice to do. But part of the reason people found it so delicious to find people that they knew on there was because some people were working at seminaries being
Right.
hypocritical.
Right. I see both sides.
I do too.
I totally do. Because if I would be like, yeah, call him out. That is some, I get it. I totally get both sides of it.
But she makes the accurate point that we all have secrets that we don't want anyone to know about. We're all hypocrites in some way.
Totally.
And so
I got some of my best moments caught on camera for like,
yeah, right.
I mean, hell, I got video evidence.
Life.
Like, please, we created a show of like things we got wrong because we're like, oh, you're a little hypocritical over here if I don't talk about this.
Yeah, are you a hypocrite if you say you're a hypocrite?
Right.
So we've covered that base.
Yeah,
We're like,
check.
we're losers.
Yeah. Whew, in the clear.
It was good and it was interesting. And then there's the separate part of the story about like the people running the site and how that was gross. And
I bet that is who I take issue with more than the users of any. It's like humans are going to do what humans are going to do, but they're the people who are taking advantage of what humans are going to do. And those are the people that I feel the same way about, I don't know, fucking casino owners.
Like profiting off of people's weaknesses.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally every bar,
actually, I mean, I'm... Although I do make money off of people's weaknesses, I'm trying to get them through them and make them better.
Sarah, yeah.
As soon as I said it, I was like,
You're trying to help, though.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah. I'm not trying to make money from them. And I always say to my clients, this is the one profession where I'm trying to work myself out of a job. So, like, I don't feel like you need to stick around for me. Like, check in. Like, hey.
Right.
Ready?
Yeah, all right. Okay, yeah, you're not lumped into it. But I do recommend watching it because they did a great job of finding people who told a more complex story about it all. So I recommend it. On a lighter note, it's not light because it's a death, but it is funny. RIP to the world's fattest monkey, Godzilla, who died after eating himself to death despite a trip to fat camp.
Well, okay, so many things about that sentence I want to. What does this say when we're like, you can't call it fat camp if it's a person, but I
didn't
have
know that.
You can't be like, we're going to fat camp. Like, that's like.
Okay, what do they call them?
Oh,
now?
fuck, I have no idea. I just would imagine that there would be some pushback
fitness
over that. Or like,
camps or something.
But monkeys were like, get on over there.
Godzilla was one of those monkeys in Thailand who like hangs out in the market.
Oh, yes. Fuck those guys. I have personal beef with them.
You're like... He got what he deserved.
Personal beef because I don't have any beef anymore because he came and stole my lunch.
That's right. They are greedy, those guys.
They orchestrated a whole, like, armed robbery.
Yeah, it was like a sting or whatever they call those.
Like a heist.
Because they worked together.
They had a distraction. They sent out a cute baby, and I'm like, and then like one strong one comes
like,
just.
I mean, I know we're not supposed to call them gypsies anymore either. What are they called? Those people that like hang out near the Eiffel Tower. And
yes.
Like they do the exact same thing. Here's my baby. And the next thing you know, your wallet's gone.
Right. That's what the monkeys are doing. Oh, that's very funny.
Well, this was sent to me from a brainiac. I wish I could remember who, but the pictures are hilarious because this monkey was ginormous. And
I have to see now.
Yeah, it's in the sun and put in like Godzilla, world's fattest monkey. And the government, I think, had to intervene and was like, you are mistreating this monkey. That's why it went to fat camp, because they were like trying to help it. And their life expectancy is 37. This guy was only 6.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. How do we know that he didn't have that thing where there's a part of your brain that says you just need to keep eating? You know, they don't get that feeling of like that sensation of being full.
Okay,
There's
don't
like a
know.
disease where that is a thing. And people will like eat themselves to death.
Okay, well, maybe he did. But the owners weren't helping anything because anytime this guy wanted some sugar, they were like, sure thing,
Or maybe
Godzilla.
that's it. Maybe it's just, this is just addiction.
Yeah.
It really is the caption. World's fattest monkey dub, Godzilla dies after eating himself to death despite trip to fat camp. I mean, that was a direct quote you had.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And
it's another one named Uncle Fatty.
I know. This is an epidemic.
Okay. Where's Robert Sapolsky when we need him? Get in there.
What would he do?
He would say, get off this diet.
Yeah. Well, when they sent him to fat camp, Godzilla did lose a lot of weight, but the damage was done.
Because, yeah.
All the diabetes or whatever.
Wow. We just accidentally did a test on a monkey trial, and we didn't even know.
Right. So, yeah, this is...
what happens if you don't have limits and you just provide unlimited reward?
Right. It's no good for anybody.
No
and now
good.
Poor Godzilla is RIPing.
Yeah.
And gone too soon is what I say.
Yeah. Oh, poor buddy.
I want to recommend to Godzilla's owners BetterHelp. And BetterHelp is a sponsor of the Brain Candy podcast. And I think that they might be really sad because they did love it.
Heck, sounds like the monkeys could have even used a little BetterHelp to learn some maybe behavioral modifications or some other things that we could do to distract from those kind of cravings.
And like clearly the family had boundary issues because I know as a mom,
right.
I'm very permissive, and this is a problem. Adam gets mad at me. I'm a good cop. And he's right. And it's hard sometimes because you just want to give them the sugar. You want to say, okay.
Right.
It's hard, but it's for the best.
And a therapist will help you work through all of those feelings that come with setting boundaries, because it is not easy, and it takes sometimes, often, professional help.
Do you think your BetterHelp therapist, Sherry, has ever heard you shout her out?
I don't think so, but I told her that I give her a shout out, and I do not think she has, but in my mind, I like to think that she listens to every single one of these episodes, and it's her favorite,
Sherry.
and she just takes notes, and she's just...
Sherry should subscribe, but anyway, you could find your own Sherry because they have lots of therapists who specialize in all kinds of things. Maybe you have relationship troubles or grief or stress or whatever. They can help you. You can do it all from your house, have your sessions wherever you are. You don't have to go anywhere. Just take a moment, visit betterhelp.com/braincandy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/braincandy. And as always, our codes are on our website if you forget them. And when you use them, it helps us. I love when you tag us and your
Yes. I just got a little wave of panic because I was like, I'm supposed to be setting new goals. I said this.
Is that what Sherry said?
No, that's what I said I wanted to do. Because, you know, I'm like out of a relationship.
What about Colorado Mountain Club?
Yeah. So I'm like, I have to think of like new goals. And my new goal is like, don't choose people who are takers. And don't choose people like, and I don't know how to turn that into a goal. I don't know how to work on that on the daily.
Yeah.
I think
how do you
it's
make
like
discernment a goal?
Right. I need to like practice. I don't know. So I'm just like, whoa, God, what are my therapy goals gonna be? So, that's just a me problem.
Therapy about her
right,
stress.
Right. Great. Now I have something to talk about tomorrow.
Okay, and then so R.I.P. Godzilla. Moving on. I also watched on Max the Kevin Spacey documentary.
Oh, I was like, do I want
heavy?
to? Do I not? I wasn't ready.
Yeah, you're right, because it was also really heavy. And of course, I mean, he was a predator, or is, but like it was darker than I expected.
Ooh, never meet your heroes. I mean, not like he was, but like I do love a Kevin Spacey movie, and now He's one where he's not, that talent is not enough for me to not fucking care about all the ways that you're pervy.
Yeah. When it feels like some of his characters sort of had that dark element.
Yeah.
That was so compelling as an actor, but then you're like, oh wait, you're not even acting.
And now
you actually are that guy.
And now I feel like I have to say, there is no amount of talent that excuses pervy behavior, but I'm just referencing our previous episodes where we talked about how, like, I'm still listening to Michael Jackson. And and okay, so I just imagine a new listener being like, what? There's a level of perviness where she's like, all good here. No, never. Okay. Just to
he won an Oscar. All is forgotten.
Right. I don't want that.
Well, here's why I would recommend it if someone's thinking about watching it. Because Kevin Spacey was preying upon men, it was fascinating to hear these men share their stories, most of whom were straight and absolutely not interested in Kevin or any man.
Yeah.
And the way that they talked about the encounters was exactly what women described. The feelings like of, these are adults. It's not like he was doing it when they were kids. And so they felt, these are like Marines and like tough guys.
Yeah.
Being like, I felt like I had asked for this. They're not even gay.
My God.
And like all the shame. And I just was like, but I really would like to get ahead in the industry. And so like I kind of put up with more than I should have because I really wanted him to help me find an agent or whatever.
Yes. I think this is an important story to tell like that.
It's so relatable.
Yep.
And as somebody who lived in LA and was going on all these meetings like he was doing and feeling that same sense of like, what do I have to put up with for this opportunity that I really want?
Right.
And having to make that choice and how fucked up it is when these powerful people exploit it.
Yeah, it's so fucked up.
Especially when they're powerful and celebrity, because then you're like kind of intoxicated by their fame.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think hearing the male side and when there's some, I hate that it's like this, but there's some level of like credibility that a male victim gives. I'm even seeing the same thing. People are saying this about the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar and how.
Why?
Okay, so they're like writing their like diss tracks back and forth to each other, and Kendrick Lamar in his, which he crushed it. There's no coming back from that. Murdered Drake, but because he said all the truth, and he said like called him out for pedophile behavior and how like if you have a younger sister, better look out, and like certified pedophile, like.
Yeah.
And now everybody's like, Drake is done. Like he's been real quiet. And,
if you're not familiar, because I always imagine my sister listens, Renee, and I can imagine her being like, what is a diss track? If you're not familiar with like the hip hop community, like oftentimes these artists will create songs just to kind of feud with another artist, and like you battle that way, and then there's like usually somebody who's like better at it.
Yeah.
And Kendrick was Victor in
that song
but
is a banger.
So do you believe that Drake is a predator or something?
I think the evidence I think the evidence is pretty convincing.
What is the evidence?
Like the who is this? Who is the celebrity?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she was a little girl. But what
13.
did he do? He like hung out with her or what?
Just like, I think there were like messages and like
he was just
comments.
Being a little too, okay.
And I'm just aware there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to underage.
I know.
Well,
and not
and it's not like, Sarah's like making these crazy claims. Kendrick Lamar, we're all singing this song. It's going to be in my top Spotify wrap-up playlist. Like, this is not just like me just like
So
accusations.
it's like a bop. It was a good song.
Dude, it's so good.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
Wha-
So
Fuck 'em up.
when you hear the Kendrick Lamar song, you feel like it's so good that it makes you believe
Oof.
the accusation. Is that what you're saying?
More like, okay, it's like if I were to write a diss track against Johnny Bananas and talked about all of the truth that like he cheated.
There's so many examples.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck, she just aired all the laundry. Like, you know, there's a, like, I could do I don't know if I were, I could do a nice one, but then I could do the one where I just like say everything.
Right. So it's like a lawyer who presents so much evidence that it's just like plausible deniability is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you like hear little hints about things here and there, like I've like heard these like rumors for a long time about Drake. And then when somebody who's like big in the scene is just like, boom, like there you go. I'm saying it real loud with the microphone on repeat.
That's what happened with Bill Cosby. We all knew for so long. We had all heard about this drugging thing. And then once that comedian, Hannibal Buress, did a set about it, just like off the cuff at a comedy club, that's what blew the lid off of it. And people really started like being like, wait a minute. And so when you are watching the Kevin Spacey doc, it's like what you're describing, where all these people describe stuff that's so similar. And the thing that really stood out to me was they often described him as like everything was normal, and then all of a sudden he would like become like this dark being who was almost like glazed over and just like had one goal. And it was like, that's scary.
Yeah, because then it seems like that's the power that he's addicted to.
Ew, yeah. And we've all been around a person when they have that, and you start to be like, you know?
I could feel it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it's
it feels unsafe.
Yes.
Because that is it. It's like your body says, I am not safe right now.
And like your hair stands
up.
up.
I can feel it right now. Like it gives me that like, up the spine. There it is.
Yeah. It's good though. I would recommend it because when you watch it and you see these guys talk, you're going to be like, that's what women feel like.
Yeah.
And we don't often get to see male survivors sharing, especially like
I want my brothers to see that. Yeah. Yeah. This is a good one then.
Okay. Moving on. I love a story about near-death experiences.
Yes.
Those are just so fascinating.
Oh, yeah. What you got?
Well, this was in Scientific American, and it was rehashing a lot of what we've talked about on the show before. And like how it's so mysterious when these people report these, you know, the old classics. Like I was hovering above my body, and then I walked through the light, and then I felt such comfort and peace. And then they wake up and their lives are changed, all that. But I have talked about this on the show before that like dreams freak me out. Like,
yes.
It feels like, what is it? Every night we go to sleep and
I'm every night when I stay up really, really, really late, sometimes like I do have this like anxiety about going to bed. Like I'm like scared to go to bed because there's a feeling of like, what if I don't wake
up?
Like
a portal.
Yeah. And then I'm like, that is crazy. Everybody on this whole planet goes to, with the exception of like if you die in your sleep, goes to bed and wakes up the next morning, and everybody's fine. And I need to not worry about this. But I do have that panicky moment. It's only when I stay up too late and I'm now like running on adrenaline and cortisol and you know.
You know too much about like how the brain works.
So you know? it and I'm like, oh, I know what's happening. It's painful. That's why I can't do drugs.
Yeah.
So I never do mushrooms again.
You've even had that when you're drinking too much. Like you'll be like,
oh yeah,
you know, I know what's going on in my brain right now.
Oh, it's no fun. I can't.
Yeah, it ruins it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think because we all sleep and most of us dream and remember them sometimes. This has become like just that's what it is. You just dream, and what's a big deal? But like if you really unpack it, it's like, what is it?
No one knows.
Okay. So when I was reading this article, this stood out to me because it feels like there's something. Okay. So a couple things. Religious people aren't more inclined to have the near-death experiences. So religious or not, they have them equally, which is interesting.
Yes.
And then the experiences across globally are very similar. You know, all those greatest hits that I was saying.
That is the other thing that makes me go, okay, interesting. Universal thread.
And then they did this study where they were examining people that have near-death experiences and then other people that they get high on like that DMT, the ayahuasca stuff.
Yeah.
And comparing, because there's some overlap and they are very similar and have a lot of the visual stuff and the feelings of like peace and love and whatevs and transformative, whatever. But there was one thing that was different. People that have near-death experiences are more prone to REM, sleep intrusion, in their life. It's a condition that occurs when rapid eye movement sleep intrudes into wakefulness and blends dream and wake experiences. And
Get the fuck out of here. You mean to tell me people who have, let me say this, people who have near-death experiences have a change in how their sleep cycles and how they dream?
No.
Okay, thank God.
That in their normal life before they even had an NDE, they had this condition.
Okay, so people who have this condition are more likely to have near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
Okay.
But now I'm questioning it because what you said is interesting too. I don't know. But the way I read it was that these people were people who had this sleep intrusion.
Okay, I see.
Why? Wow, do you think
we have enough cases of near-death experiences and to then have multiple
said like
examples.
10% of the population.
Get the fuck out of here. Susie! That was my guess for how many people slept with stuffed animals.
What if they were like 90% people that slept with
I was like, fucking A.
Right. Okay. I'm just saying that like it just made me think that my feelings of like dreams are weird and it feels like there's more to the story with those.
Because then that makes me think if it is like that, then it's very specific to a region of the brain. Like this seems like,
and that could just mean like maybe they have these senses that are false, and it's just like your brain playing a trick on you. But maybe it's that like you're kind of going into some other.
Yeah, and maybe then the only time that you experience that is when your brain is shutting down, like in a shutdown.
Yeah.
Like power off, you know, and you like turn down, you know, when you turn off a computer and they say like you got to reset the fucking monitor or whatever, or, I don't know, what do you call it? Router. And then you got to turn it off and then they say you got to wait for like a minute.
You got to wait 30 seconds or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if it's like they plug it back in? Oh my God, I got goosebumps.
See?
What if like they plug it back in before that 30 seconds is up and somehow the electricity like whoop, like charge.
Yeah, it all gets mixed up.
Oh, goosebumps. Goosebumps.
Right. Yeah, it's freaky, man. And I don't even really know what I'm talking about.
Like
I just
Twilight
know
Zone shit.
Weird.
Twilight
Exactly.
Zone shit. You are now entering a dimension of sight and sound. What is that? This is the Twilight Zone. I don't even know.
I have more to say about it. And before I do, I feel like I need to hydrate. I should get some liquid IV. Because Lord have mercy, it's really something. Mm-hmm. The body's weird. The brain is weird. You got to hydrate. Liquid IV can help you. You bring that powder out of your bag, out of your car, whatever. Pour it into your water. You're going to get hydrated 2 to 3 times as fast. Yep. And you get all those like vitamins and nutrients.
My mom's been staying with me and she does not like water. She has got to have some flavor in it or something. So I've been mixing her up with liquid IV. Here you go.
She's
Put
not used to the high elevation.
No, she's got to
I'm telling you, people.
Stay hydrated, people.
It's the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. And they're yummy and great for mixers too, but don't tell them I said that. Turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code CANDY at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code CANDY at liquidiv.com. Okay, so more things to say. What you said is something they want to look into because it feels like this gray area between wakefulness and sleep or life and death.
Yeah.
That's unclear. And so they're looking into that old thing of when do you actually die?
Right.
And so they're working with hospitals around the world and they're analyzing these EEGs of people that are having cardiac arrest. And they showed, okay, let me read it. Most showed an electrical flatline during their cardiac crisis, but in around 40% of those cases, the neurological activity consistent with that of conscious brains transiently reemerged. In some instances, up to an hour into CPR. And they're hypothesizing
that's so fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's the brain goes offline and then comes back online while your heart is out.
And they said their hypothesis is, you know how certain animals will play dead?
Yes. Oh my God. Susie, I am loving this. This might be in my top 5 favorite stories you've ever told me.
Wow.
This is
my sister, she did say we just keep getting better and better.
I agree because you keep bringing the fire, straight fire, Susie.
Hey, it's a scientist, not me.
I'm
just a messenger.
This is blowing. I have thought. Now you just have to hear my internal experience of the book going. As you've been telling the story, there have been 3 separate times where I am said to myself, you are hanging on every word she is saying right now. I was you can't say the words out of your mouth fast enough for me to be yeah, tell me more. And that is, in my mind, a good story. So this is I can't wait to talk to people about this. What the fuck are dreams?
That's what I'm saying. Because it's what are we talking about here? And why would, they're, animals play dead because there's this threat. And so they're and it's not just they're faking it, closing their eyes. Their bodies are actually, out.
And we have examples of this. We know that this is a thing because it's called a catatonic state. When you go into
you couldn't talk if you wanted to,
and that is a stage of fight or flight that that is the absolutely a thing that's a survival response. And playing possum is holy shit. I never connected that because I could pull it up on my computer, the actual slide that I have from the presentation that I give on sexual assault response and what happens.
The freeze thing.
And I have talk about that catatonic response where you can lift up the body and it's like a rag and I've only talked about it conceptually, never really because I you read it in the books and those are extreme cases that I've never talked to somebody who's had that happen. But now it's connecting a whole bunch of freaking dots for me here.
Yeah. And the animals, when they are testing whether they can stop pretending to be dead, it takes there's a transition period. And so it's not they just wake up and then they're normal. It takes time. And so they slowly turn back on, like you said, like a computer. And so they're theorizing that maybe this is something humans are doing. What?
I just am because we think that we know everything and somebody is going to win a Nobel Prize in the next few years for discovering this thing. Like, it feels like a bit like this feels, I don't know, like there's a lot here that
I know.
I don't know
it
what
is
it is.
mysterious,
It's like,
and I don't want to sound too woo-woo or anything, but it's scientists. It's in Scientific American. I'm not just like,
right.
this
That's
isn't from the
fact.
sun like
This
the
is
Godzilla
like-
monkey.
We got photo evidence for that, so it's all good. But yeah, that it just feels like, if this is true, then it just opens this door to a lot of curiosity and questions that I have about that whole
Existence.
Yes, Suze.
Okay. Here's
I
what
mean, we're
bumps me out, though.
seemingly more and more like computers the more we talk about.
It sure does. I don't know what the story is, but I know it's interesting. And you know how we've talked about how, like, people always say they hover and they see themselves down there laying on the table or whatever. And the doctors have put those things like up on shelves.
Right.
To
And
see
like
if they
I remember
report them. So I don't know of any example of when someone was like, oh yeah, I saw like your toothbrush up there, or whatever they're putting up there.
Mm-hmm.
But these researchers are also putting headphones on these people and repeating like fruit. And one person was able to report in order the fruit that was repeated to them in these headphones when they were dead, like flatline.
we don't even have the right definition of alive or dead then. Because I'm sorry, if I'm dead, according to your definition,
Yeah.
but I still have the ability to retain information that then I can share and recite back, you ain't dead.
Right.
I'm not dead.
Something's happening. Brain activity that is not like showing.
How am I supposed to like think about other things and get work done when I got this stuff to think about?
I hope they keep up the good work though, because it's totally fun to read about. And wouldn't you love to
talk
kind of have
about.
one, except without the accident
Like,
or
yeah,
whatever caused it?
Right. Oh God, you just now I'm panicking. Now I'm having an anxiety attack about I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I wonder if I have that thing that differs between sleep and wake. Like,
Yeah, the REM intrusion. You should do
Yeah.
a sleep study. Get to the bottom of
I
that.
should. That'd be awesome.
But I'm going to reread the article and determine whether they mean
yeah.
that the NDE resulted in this problem or not.
Either way, it's fascinating, and it means
Yeah.
there's man.
Yeah, man.
I want like another life to like be a researcher.
I know. I always feel like that. There's so much to learn
There's
and only so many
so
hours in a day.
Much, and then on this show we just learn. I'm like, what? That's a thing? What? I could like work at a turtle hatchery? What? Like, I didn't even know that this was not in the career counseling notebook that they gave me in junior high.
Right.
I knew there was podcaster, but here we are.
Okay. I did watch also this really cool little short 8-minute video on Eon magazine, and it was about Iranian films and how they in Iran, the filmmakers have to make sure that the film conforms to very strict Islamic fundamentalist ideals. And so, like, you know, men and women's skin can't touch in these movies. And it was showing what they do to deal with it is like usually involves a bag. Like there's like all kinds of purses and bags used as like a buffer.
See. Yeah. That makes sense.
And they just showed clip after clip of like ways that it's used, and then how it becomes like the viewers know the implications, and they know what the bag represents. But like it becomes like an extension of the person's limb, you know?
So then if you're touching the bag, it's really like you're touching the thigh,
It's like
and it's
hot
like,
stuff.
oh my God, you're touching the bag. Yes.
Yeah. They even showed like this clip of like the man and woman walking down the street, and they each had one handle of the bag between them.
You could set, I feel like you set that up right. I could get like romantic-y feelings from that action of like, we're not supposed to, but.
Well, and, you know, we all know, like, desire is weird.
Yep.
And often that's what lingerie is. If
Right.
nudity were just the sexiest, there would be no lingerie. There's
Right.
this thing where you want there to be something
Yes.
to then imagine. It's
And that
strange.
strippers would just come out naked if that were the
Yes.
thing.
Exactly.
They wouldn't bother. In fact, I lose interest when the top went. I'm like, okay, all right, done. It's like a strip tease.
Yeah.
Hello, that's it.
Yeah.
I actually don't even remember what we're talking about. Now I'm just thinking about strip teases. So
In Iran.
okay, yeah, I was like, I'm definitely just playing through the like. I saw Magic Mike. What's his name? Channing Tatum's ex-wife do his
Yeah.
Magic Mike scene. I've never seen anything hotter in my entire life.
Oh yeah, on that show. where they
Holy
dance.
shit! I was
Yeah.
like, I need a shower. I
Yeah.
can't watch this in public.
Well, and wasn't it involving like water showering
Yes.
down on her?
Yes. Whew.
Yeah. Right.
Anyways,
So
back
they-
to
yeah,
the women.
and you really do see how it becomes then a tool
Yeah.
of intimacy and a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird division, but also like a connection. It's strange. So like if the woman will get on the back of the motorbike, you know, the bag goes on first,
Yeah.
and then she straddles it, and there's that bag, and so you're supposed to, as a viewer, think like they're touching.
Yes, I can imagine
And
it. And then there's
even
like,
they showed like this scene of a woman packing her husband's luggage and then him unpacking it at wherever he went, and how like she touched it and now he's touching it, and it's like this connecting thing, and they're not even in the scene together because it
Yeah.
involves a bag.
I get it.
Wild. Yeah.
And it's something that you wouldn't think would be able to turn into a sexy thing, or like like a little like risque, like taboo. But I can totally see that.
And depending on the scene, like it could be erotic or it can be like sweet,
Yeah.
or like one scene he like handed her this bag on the motorbike, and inside were these apples or peaches or something, and then like she eats one and then he's eating one, and it's like,
Oh
hot.
yeah, that we're definitely talking about
Fruit?
licking pussy.
Right? But they're just eating some in-season produce.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was great. I would
Juicy.
recommend it. I'll have Dahlia link it in the newsletter. We send out the newsletter once a week, and it has like, people often say like, do you have a list of every documentary and stuff you've ever talked about? Well, we don't,
Because
but
we have a
do-
life.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Please
right,
record over
reams.
800 and then also create this song. Like, please.
Yeah.
That's a totally
Yeah.
different content creator, my friends.
But she does list each week. Here's what they recommended. Here are the things that
Yes.
they talked about. So if you do,
You
want
can make that list yourself.
Yes, I encourage you.
You can gather all of the, you know, like I pull from Arnold's Pump Club.
Right. I do love list of links.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, thank you
Yeah.
for anyone that
I go
creates
through our
that.
own.
So thank you to Dahlia for creating ours. Okay. I should have said earlier, because people like when I do that, but we do have a guest. And it is my old palsy wowsy, Chelsea Devantez, who has a book coming out. Before I trot out our guest, Chelsea, I want to say that after all these years on the show, we are still doing our daily habit of taking our ritual vitamins.
Yes, we are. I go to so many doctor's appointments now, and every time I go, they go, "Are you still taking this? Are you still taking this? Are you still?" You know, they go through the checklist, and I always feel so proud, like virtuous,
Yeah, like self-righteous.
self-righteous. That is
Yeah,
the word.
totally.
I am so self-righteous, and I'm like, yes, I am still taking my like you would think. He was like, "Do you wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, and do you go and like run a marathon?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And all I have to do is pop one vitamin in my mouth, and this is what gives me that feeling. So shout out to
See?
Ritual.
You can feel self-righteous too.
Yep.
If you want, you should take Ritual vitamins. I also take the Hyacera. I have like my retinol that I put on every day because, I'm not getting any younger. And Hyacera is another thing that helps my skin. It's a supplement that reduces wrinkles and fine lines and increases skin smoothness. And I love it. And they also have amazing protein powder that we recommend. Just give it a try. Start Hyacera to help minimize wrinkles without compromising on clean science. Hyacera from Ritual is a clinically proven skin supplement you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month for a limited time at ritual.com/braincandy. Start Ritual or add Hyacera to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/braincandy for 25% off. She hosts the Celebrity Book Club podcast.
Yes.
And I found her during the pandemic, and she is a riot, especially on Instagram. If you don't follow her, you should, because she's real funny to me on there and very relatable, and she loves pop culture, and that's why you host a show called Celebrity Book Club.
Yeah.
But she has her own memoir now, and her life story is totally fascinating, and her book is called I Shouldn't Be Telling You This, but I'm going to anyway.
I love it.
And her story includes, what would you call it? I forget the name of it, where like you're a product of sperm donation.
Oh, yeah.
But she didn't know.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, finding that out.
Yes.
And learning that your dad.
There should be a name for that.
There is. I'm just forgetting it. There's like
I should know it then.
an acronym.
I should know it.
And then she's in all these like groups of like people that are
right.
also dealing with that because it's complicated.
Yes,
and
it
difficult.
is. Yes, it is.
But her story is great. And she became the head writer for Jon Stewart's show on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called, but you've seen the clips. They go viral all the time. But she's a very talented writer and just an interesting gal. And I wanted to talk to her about her memoir, and I hope everyone buys it and enjoys her fascinating life story. So let us welcome to the show Chelsea Devantez.
Chin wagonanigans.
Hello, Chelsea. I cannot believe I get to have you on my show.
I cannot believe I know you.
You're
I can't
so
believe I get to
special.
have you as my friend.
I'm sick of it. You're so special and pretty and smart and funny, and it's so annoying, but then you're likable, and then I can't hate you.
Okay, wow. Did I just get a likable, like a Sandra Bullock
I know.
rom-com likable? That is the highest honor. No, same to you. And I want to say it recorded on your podcast. Susie sent me the most beautiful card and in a time when I was like laying on my floor sobbing. And it's not even like you knew that. It's like you like must have spiritually known like this bitch needs a card.
Oh my
and
gosh.
You got my address somehow and sent me this beautiful, beautiful note about putting yourself out there in the world. And now I carry it around in my purse.
I am so moved by that. That is really special.
Yeah. Well, and listen, if anything ever happens to you, they're going to be like, you murdered her. Why are you carrying her card in your purse? Anything ever happens to me, they're going to be like, we got to find Susie. This note was in her bed.
This is the most important thing in her life. Listen, so I follow you on Instagram, and everyone should because it is a treat. But I felt like I was on this journey with you writing this book. I shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm going to anyway, which everyone should buy. What are you doing with your life if you didn't? And this book is about to come out, and I felt like, this is scary as heck.
Yeah.
And you're an expert in memoirs, but now you're going to be the memoir, and it's really vulnerable, and I don't know. I just felt like worried and hoped you were okay.
Well, those were the correct emotions. Like, I think, and I'm today and this week and this wave, I'm doing really good, but I don't want to pretend for any creators out there listening that that's a steady feeling. You know, it really does go, at least for me, it goes up and down. And I think especially in memoir, where you are basically printing out your gynecological exam in a manuscript. I mean, like, what do you guys think?
Well, as everyone said, you got raw.
I mean, the amount of people calling this book raw is gonna fucking haunt me. Every review says it's raw. And I'm like, I know it's a positive thing, but it's just such a particular word that I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
why
I
do you-
must be
what do you
like
think
really
that means? Like, is it loaded in some way? What is it?
the fact that multiple, I mean, I think honestly 40. I think there's 40 people now who have called it wrong and who don't know each other. They didn't get together and discuss it. And so I think the fact that this particular word keeps coming up, I've been thinking about it way too much. I've definitely Webstered it, where I'm just like staring at the definition, being like, what is this? I do know that I don't like when I read a memoir and I can feel like they're holding back.
Yeah.
Or when they give me the light headline, or when they get to the hard part and don't go there. Like when Barbara Streisand gave us a paragraph on cloning her dogs, when she knows that is a big news story and we deserve more than a paragraph. And she's like, I don't want to talk about it, which I get. But also, when you decide I am going to memoir,
Right.
I expect you to memoir. This is the time. This is the time. And so I think perhaps having that in my mind, I was like, give everything. And then I think people read it and went, whoa, raw.
But I think that people are so glad because, like, I think a lot of people know that feeling when you're about to dig into a celebrity memoir or whatever. And then you feel like, wait a minute, I have follow-up questions.
Yeah. Or like especially with celebrity memoirs, we've already seen one side of the story. So we've already lived some parts of this with you. And so during the parts where you're like, I know this was a lot, but then you're going to skirt past it in the memoir, you can't, it's hard to balance those two stories in your minds that are so differing,
Yeah, it feels like a betrayal.
It does, because there's just so many things you can do. You could do Instagram reels all day long of your most favorite moments. You can do Us Weekly's 25 Things You Didn't Know About Me. You can just continue to be famous and rich, and that is fine. When you choose to memoir, I think you are entering into a contract with the audience that you should fulfill.
Yeah, well, you did. So
Thank you.
I say thank you to you because, I mean, the title is accurate. Although, this was the last minute title.
Yeah, that was not supposed to be the title.
What's the scoop there?
So I sold the book with the title, I Love You, Please Forgive Me, and Fuck You, which, believe it or not, is a prayer my mom taught me. And she taught me it growing up and then reminded me of it when I was an adult. And the real prayer is, I love you, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you.
Yeah.
And I've since looked it up, and it's like a new age, like a 90s new age prayer, and they like bastardize this like term from Hawaii to make it sound like really cool. And but my mom couldn't remember the prayer when she taught it to me. So she was like, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and fuck you.
I like hers better.
Yeah, I like hers so much better. And also it definitely feels like who I am now, which makes sense because she put it in me as a child. But it's like, I want to be giving. I want to be thoughtful. I don't want to be a part of your hurt. But also, if you're going to mess with me, go fuck yourself.
Yes.
I can't just be this like weak wound all the time. Like I have to stand up for myself. And so I wrote about it. I put it in the book. And then my publishers said if I had the word fuck you, the word fuck in the phrase fuck you. So it's not like I'm a fucking badass or 10 ways to fucking like be cool. Like that would have been cute and they would have put a little asterisk on it. But the one that's like fuck you, they were like, just so you know, you're going to get buried on like Amazon and whatever other sites have, things like that. And so I said I would change it. And then I entered a hell of going through 100 titles before we found this one.
Yeah, because even, with your cookies on Instagram, you would, crowdsource. What do you guys got? And people would brainstorm, and they were delightful. You have the best followers.
They are so smart and wonderful, and I feel so lucky. And I sent in a lot of the titles people came up with. And Yasser, my husband, was like, are you really going to let someone DM you your book title? And I was like, fuck yeah, I will. You have no idea how hard this is. And I sent all of them in, and the publishers were always like, no. Like what they think is a good title is so different from what I think is a good title. And the one title that my book has, I shouldn't be telling you this, is like the tiny little narrow window where we both agreed on one title out of 100.
Why is that though? What is their deal?
I think it's a lot like TV, which is what we work in. And in that they go off of this weird research.
Yeah.
Where like they are on the executive side of things of like what went well, what titles do well, what popped, what did this author do? And that's just not how you make good art. It's just not. And all the people who are helping you make the decision also know that, but they have the overlords of the people giving them the directives that they can't do what you think you should do. And I remember getting into an argument with my editor where I was like, I do not want to copy someone else. Like, it's actually, I know a lot of people don't care about that, but that's a huge like value for me. I'm like, I don't want to, like, it's like, oh, animals do good on book covers. You should have an animal. I'm like, what? That is not how,
right.
That's not how I think something like meaningful and impactful is created. So yeah, I think they come from that place. And then I was trying to name the book like a little rat lady. And they were like, no, you want to sell this, right?
Right, because their objective is different, I suppose, than yours.
Yeah, they want to sell books and I just want to be a rat lady.
Well, you want to sell books and be an artist and be true to your whatever. I get it. But I think that you did accomplish what you wanted because you were true to yourself. It is still art, but they're still happy, right?
Yes. No, they're happy. I'm happy. Yeah. It's still like, I still, at the end of the day, I don't think the best titles of things are phrases like that. Like, I shouldn't be telling you this because you could walk away. Like, someone listening to this podcast tomorrow is going to be like, I want to buy that book. I shouldn't be yelling at you. Like, it's so easy for it to morph. However, I do think it really, really accurately depicts what's in the book. And it's very on theme. Yeah. So I ended up loving it.
A big part of what the essence of the book is that sense of disclosure and being candid. And I, as a reader, and I'm sure you would agree when you read memoirs like that, it is such a joy and so insightful. But did you feel as the author that it was therapeutic or like re-traumatizing to be so open?
That's such a good question. So, funnily enough, I started working with a trauma-informed therapist years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I say trauma-informed because I had seen other therapists before, but they were not trauma-informed, and that really did make all the difference. And so I'd been working with her for a few years, and she was like, there is this modality we could do, which is called a trauma narrative, where in very small pieces, we're gonna walk through the story, revisit it slowly, and kind of put the pieces where they go, and you'll write it down slowly. The next step is to share it in some way, and then the next step is to like read it out loud, and you just go really, really slowly through every traumatic thing. And I said, no fucking thank you. I was like, no, ew, no, find something else. What else can we do? And she's like, okay, I guess there's like somatic treatments too, where you like deal with the physical body. Yeah. So I was like, absolutely not. What a bother. And so then it's so ridiculous because, and she's such a good therapist because she stayed mum about it, where I basically did a trauma narrative and I did it on fucking steroids. I wrote a book. And so at the right moment, she was like, by the way, I just want you to be aware you have done a trauma narrative, because I would write the story. I would revisit my old journals, which I had an amount of journals as a child that should have put me in an institution. Like, you should have seen me journaling and been like, lock her away. Like, we're not sure what's wrong, but like something
ain't right.
Something ain't right. And so I had just tons of journals to revisit. I got brave and called some witnesses, people who were there. You know, I checked things with my brother, with my mom. So you really are putting the pieces together. You revisit it. You get notes from your editor of like, what is this? Or this doesn't make sense. Or what have you skipped here? Or this part is very like, it's like your brain left. Like like there's no emotion here, or this is really intense. And so now you're hearing like the sort of themes and arcs of it and what parts you're missing because they don't make sense to the reader.
Yeah.
Then you go back and rewrite it. And then you just do that for fucking 2 years. And then all of a sudden you're doing the audiobook where you're saying it out loud. And I was like, oh my God, I did the thing. I did the trauma narrative. And I think because I did it with with years of therapy first, then I had her by my side through the whole thing. And just, we love insurance. We love insurance. I saw her twice a week sometimes. I have a psychiatrist. I'm on sweet meds, and doing the whole thing actually took 3 years. And now I feel like fully like a different person.
Okay, here's what I want to know though, because on page 257.
Oh my God, I love this. I love this. Wow.
This was fascinating to me because, you know, I had seen on Instagram and you say in the book how you're getting out the journals, you're getting out the books, you're looking through the story of your life. And you say, like, after making it through unfathomable obstacles, I am somehow lacking that earlier fortitude. And why are you saying why do you say that?
Why are you such a weird
I'm such a great interviewer. Why?
No, it's you know, can I give you two answers?
Yeah.
First, let me give you the I think it's the correct answer, which is that when you're in survival mode, and at that moment, like, you know, when I was 15, like, dealing with gun violence and making it through things like that, you're not really aware that you're just sort of shutting off and doing that sweet dissociation. And when you're in survival mode, you can't see anything except the next step, because that's all that's important. You don't future plan, you don't think big picture, you just make it through. And it's such strength. It's such strength. And also I was so fucking furious and angry, and that was such strength too. It pushed me so hard. I got so far. I moved across the country with it. I became a comedian with it. And then I think you start to unpack and heal those things, and you don't have that much anger anymore, or accessible anger. And so then your strength is leaving, because it's always been like, you know, I was just so angry, and then it's like, and then I get less angry, and it's like, oh no, what do I rely on for support? I have to make new ways to support myself, and I haven't. And so, and yeah, I don't know why, but I do know it's infuriating. I know that, like, as a teenager, there was just no stopping me. And I know that as an adult, that when Kayla S left her first review for me and was like, bleh, I was like, you know,
right.
And
Kayla
S, my girl, like, you know, and you know what she said?
No.
She said the book didn't capture my attention. It was boring. And here's the thing. The book begins with a shooting. So I don't have much else for you, Kayla. And that's true. If that is boring to you, like, you definitely don't keep reading.
I gotta read Kayla's memoir, because...
Yeah, but also it was just this thing of like, yeah, there's tons of books I don't fucking like either. And yet when it came back to me, I was suddenly like the weakest bitch who ever lived. And so, yeah, I think a lot of healing is really beautiful, but then it takes down these like hard walls you have.
Yeah, you
and
have
like
this tenderness.
Yeah, I think I'm like trying to build new ones still. And I'm not fully there, which is not great, because the book comes out June 4th.
I know,
we're a month away.
What are we going to do?
Well, I'm going to call you. I need more cards.
Well, I guess because when I sent you the card, I was just thinking through my own lens, of course, of, you know, being open on reality TV, but we're at the mercy of editors. And I know writers are too, But did you feel more in the driver's seat that you did have some agency, or do you still feel like,
I will say yes. Well, especially compared to writing on a TV show, like way more agency, like way more the types of notes. And I think it depends on what editor you get, but my editor was so incredible. The types of notes were always helpful and pushing it forward.
Okay.
And so even when it was like, hey, I don't know if you should include this, it was for the good of the story. It was never because like, hey, that's not likable, you know?
Yeah.
And so yes, in that way, and no, because I, you know, and it's hard to talk about emotionally, but also hard linguistically to know what words I can say. But I pitched the book talking about this domestic violence that happened when I was very, very, very young. And, you know, we went to court, I moved away, and 10 years later, I was subpoenaed back to court to undo what had been decided. And it is the most impactful thing in that it has formed me the most. And I consider it my origin story. And my editor and everyone who loves me is like, it's not your origin story. You are more than this. And it's like, LOL, no. Beautiful, but no, you know, and it's like, you know, when tragedy happens, you don't get to decide, you know, it just happens. And so the book began with the first thing that happened, and it ended with 10 years later what happened. And then I was told that I had to delete it from the entire book. And I said no. And they were like, then you don't get a book. And then I was like, then there's no book, bitch. Like, which is so funny. That's not what I was like. I was sobbing in a depressive state that required upping my meds. That's what was, it was horrible because it was like, I had kept this story in for 20 years because I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be fun, normal lady comedian, which, you know, so I kept it to myself. I held it just me alone. And I finally got the fucking courage to share it and was told I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so it really felt like a recreation of the events in the first place. And so it has been definitely horrible.
Yeah.
And my brilliant husband, you know, I pitched them a million ways to try and do it, and they said no to all of them. And then my husband said, why don't you just black out enough words so that they can't technically tell you to delete it?
If you're watching the video version, I'll hold up like some of the text.
That's a rough page there.
You went through some stuff on this section.
Ooh, yeah.
But it is such an effective way of painting this picture.
I hope so. I honestly feel wildly depressed about it.
Okay,
it's
I'm
definitely
sorry.
no. I'm
sad.
so happy it like is effective because I could not publish a memoir without including that story. It's the story that explains every single thing about me.
Yeah.
To even unthread it through the middle parts of the book was very difficult. There's times where I had to write around it in other stories where I wanted to bring up this thing and I didn't want to black it out again. And so I just kind of shifted my words to the right, you know, and I think there's just one message that I want to convey, which is that like I waited 20 years. I went to court twice, you know, that's where they prove everything. You know, the proving house, that's the house where they prove things. We did that.
I see.
I became a TV writer. I have a successful resume. I have savings, and I know some famous people, including you. And I can call them and they will pick up the phone. And I have a lawyer. I already have an entertainment lawyer. I got more lawyers, and I was not allowed to tell my story. So imagine any victim of domestic violence that has even an ounce less of all of the resources I have and what happens to them.
Right.
And I hope at least that message is conveyed because I really thought I was going to overcome it. I really thought like I have enough behind me now. I didn't have anything when I was young, when at the age it happened. I had nothing, you know, and I didn't have anything 10 years later. I had fucking nothing. But now I have shit. Now I have lawyers, and I still couldn't tell it.
What would happen if you did? I mean, let's say the publishers were fine with it. What is the fear there on their end? Or
Actually, don't know if I can say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't.
I can tell you offline, but I can't say it. But
because
how about
it made
this?
me mad as a
It is
reader.
very stupid. It's
Okay.
stupid, and it's like it'll make you so angry because it's fucking idiotic. And in another month and another year, this never would have happened. Never would have happened. But we are in a particular fucked up moment. And they are
Okay.
stupid.
Well, it would make me nuts, and I'm sorry that happened to you.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I'm still
You
kind of in
did
shock.
a great job of working around it,
Thank you. I had to rewrite the whole goddamn thing.
but I would be so mad. And
Yeah.
especially if I felt the way you do, that it's the foundation and the lens through which you see the entire story,
Yes,
and you were censored.
yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So the title, I shouldn't be telling you this, felt appropriate.
Yeah.
Given that, and it just feels like too depressing to even access it each day.
Well, it sounds like that therapist is going to continue having to
You
do
know
some
what?
stuff.
She's gonna make rent. That's for sure.
Well, and so the name of the book changed, and it feels apt because your actual name also changed, and that's an important part of the book as well.
Yeah.
This last name kept changing for you because of your circumstances.
Had a few.
Okay. And then recently on your Instagram, there was some DMing about the idea of like paternity and this, people that get sperm donors. And that's an important part of your book, this revelation that you find out your origin.
Yeah, I find out that my dad, not my dad, and that I am donor conceived. And it's not funny, but the funniest part of the story is that the guy I thought was my dad, like, was already out of the picture when I was 4 years old. He was such a monster. You know, he wasn't around. I'd already had a different stepdad. Now he wasn't around. Then I found out that the first guy wasn't my real dad, and my stepdad was supposed to adopt me. And so it was just like these, and now I have a new stepdad. So it's just like 3 dads, none of them related to me. And I come from a sperm donor, as they're called. Because donors, they give donations.
You could write an entire book just about that element.
I definitely tried to. And my editor was like, this chapter's too long. You're killing me. And I was like, you have to keep this part. And she'd be like, please, can we cut some details? I was like, no, I have so much to say.
Well, and so as a result, you've ended up with a different names along the way and different stories behind each. And it still feels like people are annoying about all of it.
Yeah.
And critical. And you've accomplished this awesome thing where it is not attached to any man anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The name is made up.
I mean,
I have to commend myself. I was, 16 years old when I did that. And that's not really an age when you should be in control of. That's how people end up with last names like pizza, and like, but yeah, I'd had my first dad's last name, then I'd changed to my stepdad's last name, and like yearbooks, like my yearbook names change, which, as a child, that is your official identification. And then when my stepdad was out of the picture, I went back to the first dad's name. Then when things got really volatile with him, I went to my mom's maiden name. Then when I changed schools, they were like, go back to the first name. And then after this horrible thing happened to me, my mom was like, why don't we change your last name again? And I was like, yeah, why not? There just was it was just this wild collision of, I now knew my dad was not my dad. And I knew, at least in that moment in time, because what year would that have been? year 2000, 1999, there was no chance I was ever going to meet a sperm donor. So it was just like, I just knew I came from dust, this idea in the sky, like there was no human attached to it. And then also it's so hard to like talk around it, not being allowed to talk about it. But I had to move away and change how you could find me.
Yeah.
And so I picked my own last name and I made it up, and no one else in the world has it but me.
But then you still got shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because I don't think, it's not culturally known what sperm donor kids are or donor conceived adults. Like, it is not in our zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason, which is because in the 80s when I was conceived, and before that and after that, it was built into the medical practice that it was a secret and that it was shameful and that everything should be anonymous. And donors were promised their identity would never be known. Parents were promised the kids would never know. Some people hid it from the other partner. Doctors sometimes just inserted their own sperm and the parents didn't know. And so it's a really fucked up medical practice that has no regulations in it, which always is like, people still don't realize. They're like, oh, but a sperm donor like couldn't lie. It's like a medical form. And it's like, oh, my friend, not only do they constantly lie and can always lie, because again, there's no one regulating it or checking up on it. Sometimes the clinics will lie. It's a money-making business. They'll be like, Ivy League. He went to the Ivy League. And so, so it really, no one ever, when the fertility industry was like trying to produce these children, no one ever thought about the children. Like, what will it do to our identity? What will it do to our medical history? What will it do to our sense of self? And I think they assumed that we would never find out, that the secret would work.
Right.
And then, in my particular case, I found out when I was a teenager, which is still like quite late to find out. That being said, there are adults every day who find out when they're like 30, 40, 50, and 60.
Right.
And it's like, there's no, like, even when I started working with my therapist, she's like trying to find like studies on donor kids and like how to work with me. And there's nothing because they didn't track us. We're not supposed to be talking about this. Mm-hmm. And, thankfully the adoptee community and the donor kid community have really come together to like share information. We have a lot of similarities in like what happens to our sense of selves and our identity. And I think the idea that you could not know who your dad was, as I would tell people, like, I don't know, it just blew their minds, And I think quite rightly, they sensed I was hiding something because I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. I was protecting a certain member of my family, and I was also protecting the idea that, like, I guess my mom would be called a freak, or I'd be called a freak. Mm-hmm. And so, but when you're told who you are is a secret, and if other people know it like there's consequences and people will treat you weirdly, the shame that grows inside you is insurmountable.
I can see why you gravitated, though, to celebrity memoirs, though, because how frequently is it the case that a secret is sort of the underlying story?
Just constantly.
Yeah.
And I think also when you do keep shame in, you don't find all the resources that could free you because you are hiding from them. You don't even know it, but you're like hiding from them. And like, being a sperm donor kid is like still not a very common story, even though there is minimum 1 million of us in this country. Minimum. However, then I read a celebrity memoir and Demi Moore is like, and when I was a teenager, I found out my dad was not my real dad. Winona Judd is like, oh, when I was an adult, I found out my dad was not my real dad. Mm-hmm. And it is now like it's a pretty common thing in celebrity memoirs. I would say at least 10% of them, maybe 15 to 20%, find out a parent is not who they think they are. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, I'm not a fucking freak. We're all going through this and we're all keeping it a secret, whether you're a donor kid or something else happened. Like Kerry Washington just came out with her memoir.
Oh, yeah.
She was donor conceived.
I'm really glad that she came out too, because that really made a splash. I think a lot of people paid attention to that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it becomes something that people will talk about more.
Oh, yeah, because it's, there's no, we can name like famous people who are adopted, and we can name like a lot of movies, and even though a lot of that information is wrong, there's a general understanding of adoption, whereas like Kerry Washington is our first famous donor person ever, even though I know for just statistically there's others.
Don't you feel like you're a miracle?
No, LOL, no.
Why?
That is what they
Are
would
you
put on the...
serious?
I am serious. That is like the pamphlet for my birth. Like, having trouble conceiving with your husband? We'll make a miracle for you. For $50, you can have a miracle too. And then I come out.
But like, think about what is in this book, the stories in this book, and then who you are and what you've accomplished, not just professionally, but just like the person that you are walking in the world. You don't think that's miraculous?
Why are you making me emotional? This is making me emotional.
Well, I'm just telling you it is.
Okay, thank you. I did, when I read the audiobook, which you do within the span of a week, you read it all like for it's like 9 to 5 every day. You're like reading your audiobook. I did finish that and I was like, how do I even know how to brush my teeth? How do I even stand up straight? Like this,
Right.
And but yeah, and so I guess I feel in that way. But yeah, no, I think unfortunately when certain things happen when you're younger, no matter who you are, that make you feel really bad about yourself and really ashamed, like secrets and who you are is bad, that trigger is just like so accessible for me. You know what I mean? Where you could instantly be like, I'm fucking bad and I don't deserve to be here. I'm shameful. And then you just do so much work every day to like not feel that,
Yeah.
Is that sad?
No, I think that's relatable.
I hope so.
And I think
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's hard shit.
It is hard. And that's why it's so tremendous that you're willing to talk about it and work through it with all of us, because we're all working through our own shit. Everybody.
Totally. Memoirs have like changed my life and been the life raft when I had nothing. They've kept me alive in moments. So it's like, it's such an honor to be able to like participate and give one back, hoping that if there's someone who needs my specific weird story in their life for some reason, that like it'll be available,
Do you feel like you're able to really receive that if someone tells you what an inspiration you are, like you are for me and for so many people? Do you feel like it's too much?
I think it's like this, it's like a light that is like so shiny and bright, you have to like look down, but you want it. Like if the light wasn't there, you'd be like, hey, it's so dark outside. Yeah. It's like, but you want it so badly, but it's also like really hard to look at. I don't know. Do you feel like you can take it in?
Well, no one's telling me that, Chelsea.
Okay, well then people should be, Susie.
I'm just saying that for me, it's like you have this special thing. Like I call them the magical people. I try to collect magical people and keep them around me. And you're one of the magical people.
Oh my God.
And
I feel like I'm like a little troll doll. I have like a little gemstone in my tummy.
When I go to bingo, you take you with me, because it's just amazing who you are and how you're able to like give it away and make other people feel special too.
Man, that's so nice.
I mean it. Okay, listen. I just want to say, I really love the part of the book where you talk about the memoirs that have had an impact on you, particularly funny ladies, Brett Butler, Delta Burke, Roseanne, all those gals. And I was trying to think like who I wish would write one. For me, it's Shelley Long.
Oh,
Cheers.
that's a great one.
I want to know the scoop.
Yeah.
What went on there? Do you have somebody that you're like, what if maybe you could write one too?
I oddly mentioned her, Sandra Bullock. Like
you want her story.
Yes, because also there's so many movies she's in that are my favorite movie, like Practical Magic. And she did ride that like likable romantic lead for so long. She like formed, she stood up for all brunettes. And but then also she ends up accidentally marrying a Nazi. Whoops. You know, what a tale
Right.
is that? Would love some deets, you know?
Yeah.
And as soon as she found out, she was like, oh, one divorce, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty intense. And yeah, I want to know that story. I want to know Rihanna. I know it's never coming.
Okay.
But,
She might. She's full of surprises, that
yeah,
girl.
maybe late in life, possibly. Yeah, would love a Rihanna memoir.
Yeah. All right. We'll put that out there. Manifest it. Is there any time throughout this process where you like, I have regrets. What have I done? I would like to take this all back. This was a mistake. Is it happening right now?
I know, right? You know, since it's not out yet, I can
Okay.
feel pretty like sturdy in what I've done.
Yes.
But
Right.
there are people who I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna do when they realize they're in the book. What will that be like
I
for
mean, I'm
me
excited
and
for
them?
that.
Huh?
I'm excited for that because, like, a lot of people, I want them to know.
Yeah.
But you feel like maybe you'll be like, uh-oh.
Only if I supremely got it wrong, which I will say is impossible. If you're in the book, you're a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Or you're the light of lights. But there was no one I put in the book. There's only one person in the book where I'm like, I hope they don't accidentally get any ill will, which is and by the way, I changed names too of anyone I wanted to protect. So I have this boyfriend whose name's Caleb in the book, and I really tried in the chapter to let people know they should be on his side.
Yeah.
Like, don't take my, even though he's saying horrible things to me, like, don't take my side. But yeah, just like, you know, just such a sweetheart, and we just weren't meant to be together. So there were things like that where I hope that's interpreted correctly. I really tried to put stuff like that in there. And then there are the worst people in the fucking world work in Hollywood, and I've worked with some of them, and I wrote about some of them, and they deserve to be in the book.
Well, that's what amazes me. I wonder if sort of you've been through a lot, and I bet you that's very helpful in the entertainment industry because it can really suck.
Yeah, you know, I think it was really helpful before I started opening up about it all. I think before I started opening up about it all, I just had that like iron grip, you know, and this huge wall, and I could just plow through anything. And then, you know, at one point you have to realize that you're just so wildly unhealed. You're getting your trauma on everyone, and you have to fix some of it. And I think now that I've made the choice to like open up, it's definitely a lot harder, not because I've opened up, but because you just feel open. You feel open to people's energies and emotions. And it's,
Cool.
you
Yeah,
know.
and since this is your forte, you know that when you're reading a memoir, you're always looking at it through your own lens and experiences, and nobody is going to see it exactly the way you do.
Totally. And I think
know.
there's it's such an art form, and I don't even know if I cracked it, but I'm even thinking of, you know, there are memoirs where it's like, I didn't really enjoy that memoir. And I hate that. I hate that because you don't ever want to not enjoy someone's memoir. That's their life. But depending on how you craft it,
Yes.
you could craft your life really shitty. And I mean, it's like we covered Maureen McCormick, Marsha Brady's memoir.
We did.
And someone let her keep in 19,000 references to how fat she thought she was. And it ruined a lot of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, so there's stuff like that where it's like, I hope I've crafted it to the best of my
You have.
abilities.
You
know?
did.
Well, thank you.
It's
but you know, you never
tremendous.
know. It's like I pick up a memoir, I don't like it, you know? And if now I know what that feels like, and I'm glad I'm putting myself through it. If I talk about books all day, I want to make sure I'm like in the ring as well, you know, not just being a little bitch on the sidelines. But it's a tough process.
I've already kept you too long, but I did want to know how you decided on your opening line, because you do put a lot of like pressure on the books that you read. Yeah. It's important to you that they do a good opening.
It is. A good first page, if you cannot do a good first page, how can you do 300?
You're fired. Yes.
I need to trust you. Sentence 1.
Did you feel that pressure?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
The pressure is like definitely having fun in my nightmares every night. But I will say I just knew, very thankfully, the first sentence, I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Because I just felt it so hard. Which is, I didn't want to have an ugly story. And for a long time, I
time.
thought I wouldn't have to if I simply never told it.
It was so
Glad you
good.
like it.
It was. I did. I loved it. I was like,
Your reaction to the book, and this is just like, thank you so much. This is such a like,
oh, for real.
you know, it's been 3 years of just like
Yeah.
digging out my insides,
Yeah.
and like this just means so much.
No, it's a public service what you're doing. We all thank you. We have one last question we ask everybody that comes on. If you have a car, what do you keep in the trunk of your car?
Oh, I can't say my ex-boyfriends legally.
Yeah, it's blacked out.
Let me try and answer what I actually have in my car,
Okay, yeah.
which is it's not a poster, it's a frame of my podcast art that I took and put up in an event 8 months ago. Need to bring inside. Need to bring that. Oh yeah, I definitely should. And like some weird costume clothes that I wore that day. That's back there. Yeah.
That tracks. Okay, this makes sense. Yeah, like you're very fanciful. There's always like boas and there's a lot of costuming.
A lot of costume, but also just like a lot of like, you know, that's a simple to-do list item, you know, and it's been 8 months. So it's like, what's going on there?
That's everyone. That's why we drive around with Goodwill donations in our trunks.
Right. What's in your trunk?
I mean, it's
this
all
week?
very boring and not interesting. It's like, you know, I got to take this to the seamstress and
Okay, come on now. Now we're talking costumes again. You're getting stuff tailored? What's that?
listen, I feel so, whenever I hear what people have in their trunk, I'm like, I got to shove some shit in there that's more interesting because
Jar of
we believe that
pickles.
it's like symbolic of
Yeah.
who you are. And mine's like, oh, boring.
I don't know. I still want to know what you take to the seamstress.
Nothing as cool as what you wear. Chelsea, everyone has to follow her. Where can they follow you, by the way?
Okay, follow me at Chelsea Devantez. Sometimes I book club the books in my Instagram stories.
Oh my
I really
God.
be living in the stories. I'm not really on the grid.
Oh, good.
I'm in the stories. Thanks, Susie. Well,
It
and
is
then
amazing.
genius people like Susie will DM me, and then I get to post that, and that becomes a part of our book clubbing, and then I go and record the
We have
episode.
such fun.
Yeah.
And I feel I and all of your followers are rooting for you, cheering you on because you're all of us. And I just can't thank you enough for all bearing your soul, being so vulnerable. And fuck, you're so smart.
Susie.
I mean,
Well, all the same things to you. Thank you for your card. And for everyone listening, even if you don't listen to any episodes of my podcast, listen to the one that Susie is on. It's so fucking
fuckers, why aren't
funny.
you listening to it?
Where we talk about Marsha Brady.
Marsha, as always. Thank you, everyone. I shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm going to anyway. Buy it right this second. You won't be sorry. I love you.